Hello all, thank you for joining today Tech Talk. My name is Adrian and today I'm your host at Romania Tech Insider, September 2022. Today we'll talk a little bit about CloudOps and about cybersecurity, but first of all, let's see some video to present Globant.
Now that I've lost everything to you, you say you want to start something new, and it's breaking my heart you're leaving. Baby, I'm grieving, but if you want to leave, then take good care. Hope you make a lot of nice friends out there, but just remember that a lot of bad everywhere. You know I've seen what the world can do, and it's breaking my heart in two. 'Cause I never want to see you sad, girl. Don't be a bad girl.
Reinvention moves the world forward, and that's what we do best.
Oh, baby, it's a wild world.
We are Globant, the company you probably don't know, behind many of the digital transformations you do know. Globant. Seek reinvention.
Across the world, companies have been challenged to remain in constant evolution, transform their culture and business models, rethink their customer experiences, and take advantage of new technologies such as artificial intelligence. Companies face the challenge to become augmented organizations. At Globant, we help pave the way towards this future. We work together with businesses around the world to define their way ahead and augment their capabilities to create new approaches for processes, products, and strategies. We create agile and resistant cultures where teams not only create change, but also adapt rapidly, creating exceptional experiences for millions of people. We walk along this road relying on our set of disruptors and accelerators, driven by artificial intelligence. All of this boosted by our system of studios and agile pods, operating units that foster creativity and innovation. We are a native digital company focused on helping organizations rethink themselves and find their way forward through digital and cognitive transformation. The future is now, and it belongs to augmented organizations.
Thank you all for being patient with the videos. I hope what Globant is and what Globant does, it's much clearer to you. Now we'll continue with the presentation regarding CloudOps and cybersecurity. Let's take a look at the agenda. First of all, I'll do some introduction on Globant, then on CloudOps and cybersecurity. And on the second part, you will go within more technical details with Sorin and with Sergei. You have seen how big of a company we are at the global level, but in Romania, this is the footprint. We are more than 200 Globers, and we are really having a focus on having senior people. As you can see, in 2022 was a busy year for us. We grew quite a lot. We were able to add, other than Cluj, another secondary location, being Iași. And I'm also quite happy that we were able to adapt pretty fast to the whole remote working. And now we have colleagues from, let's say, other cities in Romania, Sibiu, Brașov, Bucharest. Now going into the technical details, we'll talk firstly about CloudOps. More or less, long story short, CloudOps is a group of more than 1,200 people who are helping our clients to enjoy the cloud transformation journey. You can see in the bottom side of this presentation some of the clients that we are working for, and these are some clients that we were able to put the name on the paper. And other than that, you can see also the partnerships on the public cloud level that we have. About the studio, Globant is working on the cloud part since 2009, and during this period we were able to help many clients to ship or to build their product within cloud. And other than that, with our DevOps approach, we were able to help them deliver at a high speed and at a high quality those products. If we are looking at DevOps, at CloudOps, we can see two main verticals. There we have the part related to CloudOps mindset and the part related to CloudOps transformation. When we are talking about mindset, we help our clients on the DevOps cultural side, we on the side reliability engineer, and lately chaos engineering. Going within the cloud transformation framework, I will get within more details soon, but here we have some direction on giving advices on cloud transformation, building practically the environments within the clouds, and other than that, when necessary, simply moving the workloads from on-premise to cloud. Other than these two big verticals, we also have a shared service idea where we have multiple people within different locations on the globe who are working 24/7 in order to help our clients to keep their application online and serving their end customers. Now, I have talked about the cloud transformation framework. Here we can find more about that. I will also put in the chat a link to our white paper about the cloud transformation framework. But what this really means. The cloud transformation framework represents some lessons learned by us in 2009, and we put them within some guidelines. What those guidelines are doing are practically helping us and the client to realize where they are in the cloud journey, helping again us and them to figure it out where they want to be, and again then the most important part, practically that journey from the actual state now to the place where they want to be. Of course, within this diagram, everything seems simple, going natively or having the cloud journey, but this framework has a lot of more details there. We are there with the client to help them go through this journey. On the cloud side, we see other than the cloud transformation framework, our DevOps approach is quite important. We are focusing here on business continuity, knowledge retention, and of course, time to market with no compromise. How we see this? Other than the actual technology, we are focusing on infrastructure as a code, configuration management, continuous integration, and continuous deployment. We've seen that even technology, it's not okay to deliver the proper software. We see that approaches are very important, processes, measurements, and continuous improvement. By following the CALMS principle, we are helping, again, our clients to deliver fast their project and at the high quality that they want. Last but not least, on the cloud side, when we are talking about cloud, definitely we are talking about partnership and specialization with the main player from the public cloud sector. What we have here, of course, AWS, Google Cloud, and Azure. You can see here some numbers about number of Globers that we have certified on different cloud providers and the certification that we have. After that, you can see our specializations that we have achieved at this moment, completed. You can see here on AWS, on Google Cloud, and other than that on Azure, and what we are working on. Okay, going further, we'll have a few words about the CyberSecurity Studio. And yeah, it's clear that we've seen once with the pandemic and with the whole digitalization and migration to web application that security is no longer a thing, it's a fact, and there are tons of risk all over the places. We in Globant, we started this journey a few years ago, and we have a group of people, of experts within the cybersecurity part. How we are handling this with our application and with our clients by doing cybersecurity assessments, finding out where the client application and products are. We are a really big fan of DevSecOps, where that's possible, to have people working with delivery team and make their processes more secure and their applications more secure. Afterwards, we are going to cloud security and our experts and specialization on different cloud provider. And not the last one, but we have 24/7, 365 team, CyberSoc team, who is taking care of the security and monitoring things for different clients that we have. Some things that I want to mention regarding the cybersecurity are platforms that we have created inside Globant that we are using for our clients. One of that can be named the vulnerability management software. It's practically a platform that can be hooked up to your system and find out more about how the security assessment look like. And then we have also a threat intelligence tool who's analyzing threats around the application. Here on the right corner side, you can see the clients that we will work with, and other than that, partnerships that are helping us to deliver high quality within the cybersecurity world. Then here you can see a summary on the CloudOps on the cybersecurity part. Definitely the assessment part, then going and being part of the actual development cycle, improve and secure the development cycle, then improve and secure the actual cloud, plus having a cybersecurity operations team. Thank you for being patient and hearing me. Now I will let Sorin to continue. Sorin?
Sorin, please unmute yourself.
Excuse me. Okay, thank you very much, Adrian. I'm Sorin Ciorceri, part of Globant Cybersecurity Studio. And in today's talk, I will talk to you about how to secure your code. It's about another approach, a do-it-yourself approach without using external services. What we will focus today, it's on SAST, which is Static Application Security Testing. That's a methodology where you will test your application using your source code and your configuration file. It's a different from the dynamic one, so we'll focus only on this one. And for this methodology, for the SAST one solution to do this is using the SCA, and we'll talk here about the static code analysis, which is a little bit different, and we don't want to mistake that with software composition analysis, which is a different technique. And at this moment, for the static code analysis, when we talk about this, we need usually the source code and various automatic tools, because this is what we are talking today. We'll try to verify your semantic, understand your code, and see if there are some problems with that code. For example, if you are calling some methods or functions which are duplicated and shouldn't be used anymore, or if you are passing some parameters to your methods that are not the correct ones. And in this case, later you probably this will lead to a vulnerability that can be exploited by other bad actors. At this moment, if you want to do this, you have, as I said, multiple approaches and multiple tools, some tools that will do that automatically. And of course, you can do a manual review of the code. But since we'll try to make our job easier, of course, we'll try to use some automatic tools just to find, let's say, the most easiest findings. And for this, we have a lot of approaches in the last years, and a lot of tools are present on the market. For the non-free ones, probably the most known ones are the Fortify tools, the Fortify Static Code Analyzer. Of course, Fortify has a huge suite of tools, but we'll focus on this one. The Checkmarks has another one, Veracode has another one. But again, these are, let's say, the non-free ones. And if I want, for example, to do a setup on my computer to do some testing, probably it's not easy in all the cases to get, let's say, a trial or a demo in case you don't have acquired one. Of course, there are free tools, like it's the Bandit, Brakeman, or others. Usually, these kind of tools are focused on a specific language or, let's say, framework. Those are okay, good tools, but in case you have an application or a product which is composed of multiple frameworks, multiple applications, you have a backend, a front end, a mobile application, whatever you have there, you will have to use a combination of those tools. and each tool came probably with its own configuration. And in some cases, probably it's a little bit harder to configure this. But again, it's a solution, and it's better than not use any solution at all. What I would like to focus today, it's on a freemium one. Yes, it's not free. It's free and premium things there. And I will want to talk about the CodeQL. CodeQL, it's part of the GitHub, and let's say the father of the CodeQL, it's the Microsoft. They bring it to you, and they made this solution free to use. Of course, they have a license. You have to read and to understand in what context you can use it, but it has a lot of good features, and I see a good future for that one. At this moment, if you want to use CodeQL, the one I will talking today, this is the list of the supported languages which can be used to scan your code, to do the static code analysis. And the good thing for this, for the ones who are probably researchers and want to add detection for new vulnerabilities, probably are researchers for the vulnerabilities, for new exploits, this language provides you all the documentation and a language QL, which is dedicated to do this kind of semantic code parsing, where you can interpret your code and see where you can find the vulnerabilities and detect those in your code. What I would like to show you today, and here it's just a bit of the documentation, how you can do a setup, and you will see it's not hard, and it's, let's say, pretty fast on a machine. In this case, I will use a Windows machine. And for this, you have the details on how to do the quick setup. And of course, I will show you also my setup, which I prepared before this meeting. You have to download the binaries. This is only for the command line. There is also the source code, but usually you don't want to build everything by yourself. You just can download the binaries from their page. For this demo, I'll just put everything in C demo folder, and everything will be here in CodeQL home. You also have to clone the GitHub repository, this one, which will be put in the CodeQL repo repository. This repository will contain the definitions of the vulnerabilities. So this is, let's say, the part of the core that does the actual detection of this. And the next step, you have just to create a folder named databases. I've chosen this place for it because this is what documentation also suggests. For the demo, I will present you a Python setup and how to do a scan, and also for the Java, how to do this. And I took two repositories where I'll do a quick scan and explain you a little bit about how we get the results, how do we see those results, interpret them. And I will start firstly with the Python, a mandatory thing. Yes, have the Python, in my case, Python 3, because this is what I will have to use. And while I will do the setup with you, I will explain to you what it's all about in these commands. As you can see, they are pretty similar for the Python and the Java. Okay, now it's the demo time, and I will use those slides over and over again to see what we have. Let me just show you a little bit what we have. So here in demo folder, as I said before, I already have unpacked in the CodeQL home and CodeQL repo. I've unpacked what I got from the GitHub repository. Everything is there. As requested, I've created the database folder here inside. And Python is installed. I have here, we have Python here installed. Everything works just fine. And one important thing, which is just a one-time thing you have to do, is to do the compilation of the queries. I told you that CodeQL is using the QL language, the queries that will parse the code and look into it. I already did that, but just let me just show you what you have there. So we'll go to repo Python, QL source, CodeQL suite. These are the configurations for those queries, and it's very important to show you this. There are multiple type of configurations. For example, this one, code scanning, if you go inside it, yes, it will use another set of configuration files, but it will set to you those kind of queries that are, let's say, mostly based on code quality scanning, not, let's say, very much on the security. And you can also select later, you will see when we'll do the actual analysis of the code, for the security, for example. And these kind of queries are more oriented and specialized to find the security problems. So again, you can use whatever you would like from here. What you will see here, and you will see I will use, is LGTM. I will show you what is this. And this is what I will use. This is a platform which was done by the GitHub, but from what I see in the last month, this will be shut down. But this was from the GitHub. You can still use it until the end of this year, and you can scan online your project. Or else you have other alternatives using this inside the GitHub, or how I will show you inside your laptop to do your personal environment if you need this. Okay, so after you will have all this, if you run those commands to see what are your supported languages, if everything goes just fine, you will see the paths for the languages that were compiled and the paths where everything is okay, and also the query language packs. If you have this output, then it seems that your setup is just good. And now you can start with your application and scan it. This is done in 2 steps. First step is just to create a database. Well, it's not a real database like a SQL one, but we just use this term, where what you have to do, you have your application. Let me show you my application. In the text folder, I use my application. It's just a simple Python application. It's not important. It's some personal project where you have to say, okay, I want to scan everything related with the Python language. For example, if you have an application that is composed of multiple frameworks, technologies, languages, you'll have to scan language by language. You cannot just make an entire scan at once. It doesn't make any sense, because if you later want to go to a team and give them the results, you don't want for the team which is, I don't know, in the backend and using probably Python, and give also the results for the ones which are in the front end and using some JavaScript technologies. So you're doing scans based on each language. You say what is the source and where to have the result. I will start this database create. It will just start to do, and I will show exactly what does this first step does. It doesn't do the actual code scanning. It's just try to extract the files that will be used later for scanning. As I said, if we have a project where it are used multiple languages, frameworks, it will just take what is necessary. In this case, usually only the Python files. It doesn't take very much, at least in my case. So in the end, if I go in the database folder, yes, these are the ones which I did before, just to have them as a backup. We will see that new files and folders appear, and at the end, after everything will be finished, we have a source zip file which only contain the files that will be used to do the actual scanning. Of course, there are other logs here and other statistics, but we don't care about those. And with the second command, we'll do the actual analyze, where we'll have to pass the place of the database, how it's here, database log X in this case. As I showed you before, this is the list of the security, or let's say how we call the filters and the queries that will be used to do the scanning. In this case, I've used this one. You can use also the LGTM full, or if you want to do, you can use only for related of the code scanning to see if the best practices are used or not. Again, it's based on what you want to achieve. If you want to go to the security part and vulnerabilities, I recommend you to use the last ones. Another very important parameter here is the format of the output. You will see here, and I will recommend to use the same thing at this moment, Sarif 210. What is the Sarif one? Let me just show you a little bit. Sarif format. This is, let's say, a pretty new format. Well, not new, but something very, very, very close. Static analysis results interchange format. This is a format which became a standard, and of course, behind it's backed by Microsoft, by Micro Focus. I saw Micro Focus has the Fortify tool, and they want to do a JSON file format which can hold a lot of information about security vulnerabilities. And this format and this kind of files can be transferred from one system to another, and very easy, since it's a standard, to interpret those results from one system to another. For example, if you're doing a static scan, a dynamic scan, or whatever other scan, you can get all the data in JSON, probably in a single platform, and you have all the information interpreted in a single place. Because it's a problem, because before multiple tools, they were exporting their information in various formats. Probably sometimes you'll have a PDF. Well, from that PDF, you cannot process it automatically very simply. In the end, it was, let's say, a manual work to process all this information. You have also other formats, but I don't recommend you to use. You can put them as text or CSV, but those information are not very verbose, and you don't have a lot of details. Probably if you want a summary, it's okay. But if you want to do the actual detective work, I recommend this. And the output, it's the output where the results will be saved. I will just start this. This will take a little bit more. That's why I have the other folder with the backup, where we will look at the results to show you exactly how we'll interpret those results. At this moment, I will just leave it here in the background. Probably it will finish until I will show you the other parts. So if I go to the backup, as you can see, the difference is only that file, the Sarif file. To interpret this, because it's a big JSON file, and trust me, it's pretty hard to read it manually. You can do it and do some filtering, but it's not very, very easy to do. I recommend to use Visual Studio Code. And inside Visual Studio Code, there is an extension. One second. The Sarif Viewer one from the Microsoft DevOps. I recommend you to enable that extension. And what we will have here is the JSON file. And in the right part, you will have this parsed very nice. It's about this log. And you can have it two filters by location, what files and what problems were found, or by rules, what rules matched. For example, here in this one, you can see various things. Okay, maybe some variables were not used. We have some commands which are not used again, or imports and stuff like that. Or you can have it by rules, for example, like an empty except here. If you want to see, for example, okay, how it looks like, if you click on it, you will have some information about this, but you can go to the location to see it. But let me do it like this. Go to Logix Checker and try from here, locate. And if I go to demo, test, if I click on something, I will have the code on the right side here. So I can see exactly, for example, here, this is not something okay with this. If I go to the rules and with this except, yes, has nothing here. So from a code quality, this probably makes no sense. So this is the way how you can interpret very easily and see where are the problems and get to that line of code and do let's say a second turn of filtering, like a manual filtering, and understand what's happening there. Okay, this didn't finish yet, no problem. What I will show you again, it's the setup for the Java. There are a little bit of differences, but they are very important to do. Again, the same thing, you have to compile those set of rules. They are very similar for what I said to you at the Python. Let me just stop this because that doesn't make any sense. And in the end, you can do the same create the database and run the analyze. What is important, for example, for the Java, you can see the first step here, you have to install the JDK and the Maven, at least for this project. This is how it was built. For some languages, which you have a build process, you need to have the build working, at least locally. So if I go into CodeQL test, here is the one, clean and package it was. I want to make sure that I know how to do the build, because the CodeQL will use the build process into the process of gathering all the necessary information and the vulnerability scanning. So for Python application, for example, is not necessary, but for Java ones, it is necessary. I don't know to give you for each of type of the language if the build process it's part of it or not, but for sure you can find this in the documentation. So I have everything here. It works just fine. You will see that something very similar with this screen will be shown when I will run the commands. And as you can see, the build, it was started also, because he has to take the necessary files from the build process, also the source code, and probably other dependencies. Okay, this will take probably a minute or so. And after I will have all the files, I will do the same thing. It's very important, as I said, to use the serif format. Use what kind of filtering you would like to have, or set of queries that will do the scan. In this case, I use another one. It's just for demo purposes. Again, you choose to do what you want. And in the end, you will have a very similar file. Let me just go here. Another serif file, where you can have, like it's here, the locations. These are for, oh, it's a mess. Let me just open it again, because it kept me also the old one. Okay, the ones from the other project. And we can see here we have the same problems, various rules. For example, here we can see that a rule that's related to the SQL injection popped up. Again, if we go here and want to see the details, in the info we have some details. It's a SQL injection building or whatever. Let me see if I can find the product service Java file and see the actual line and where is the problem. So going to the test, source, main, Java, and in one of those, product service Java, this is the one. And if you go and click here, we can select it. We can see it will get me to a query where there we have a select, and it's very clear that if I can manipulate the login parameter, I can do a SQL injection. So in this case, I've chosen an application which has some vulnerabilities to see exactly how this works. With this demo, it concludes on how you can create your own environment and use the CodeQL to do your own scanning. Bear in mind, there is some licenses and some limits on how to use this. I will not get into details, but if you are taking care of that, no problem would be. With this, I can conclude this short demo on how to install and use CodeQL. Thank you very much. I would like to invite the next one on the stage. Sergey, all the stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sorin. Hello, everyone. So, transformation, powered by DevOps from house to system design. A product transformation by using right tools and right approaches. My name is Sergey, and we'll talk about DevOps. Very often on Tech Talk, people talking about some implementations and how they help our clients. I would like to propose another concept of current Tech Talk. I will try to show you the general concept how each engineer can contribute to a client's product and make his life easier. And a quick reminder to the audience, feel free to put your questions you have to the comments. A few words about myself. 12 years in IT, 4 years as a DevOps. And a few of my case statements, principles I'm using to build system design. There are self-documented systems, version all the things, small changes rather than batches. And why I put house to the quotas? By house, I mean the existing state. It could be bad, so moving to the system design means from the bad to a better design. And if existing state is good enough, transform it to even better. And during my presentation, I won't deep dive too much into details. Instead, I'll focus only on principles and high-level overview. Before move forward, we need to understand where we are, find ourselves in coordinate system. Imagine you joining a new project, and old members know everything about it, but you don't. You keep reading documentations, ask questions, which is expected. However, how to improve this part of onboarding process? So system of coordinate is where we are at the current moment. My example is microservice architecture, one of the popular in the modern world. This slide is just about visualization. We have three layers, right? Infrastructure, platform, and applications. For infrastructure, we are using AWS. For platform, Kubernetes, and applications covered by microservices. Let's move forward. That was an initial state, and actually this is a good start. For infrastructure, we are using infrastructure as code approach. Platform, which is Kubernetes, we manage by COPS, and to manage applications, we are using Helm charts. And now let's deep dive into each of this layer. But before move forward with the transformation and move to the next maturity level, we've started with building our principles. I will mention some of them. There are modular extensibility, self-documented system and processes, version all the things. And you may see small changes rather than batches, and systems can be easily reproduced. And a simple question to you, to the audience. Can you reproduce your setup in another cloud region? Take a minute to think about it. So let's start from the first layer, which is infrastructure. Initial state. Initially, AWS resources were described by Terraform resources. By replacing them via Terraform modules, we resolved hundreds of issues. Each module passes automatic tests. Also, we added versioning to our infrastructure components. Sounds good, right? Also, initially, we had Atlantis for GitOps. We added TerraGrant as Terraform orchestration, while keep using Atlantis for GitOps. And with TerraGrant, we also improved development experience. It's super easy to test locally. Before we had low visibility, and TerraGrant helped us to organize our code. Basically, in code, we repeat AWS infrastructure, so now it's clear which components are running in each environment or region. And for the future, we plan to add more testing, security tests, scanners, and so on. So, problem we resolved. Firstly, test locally. Now it isn't big deal now. Also, we added automatic semantic versioning to infrastructure components. We improved CI by adding leans, validation steps, etc. We also improved visibility by repeating AWS architecture in code, account, region, environment, services. Also, we started using Terraform dependencies from the remote state. No more hard-coded Terraform resources IDs in the variables. And such important feature as supportability. Hard to measure, but really important. Next layer, platform. We use COPS, and COPS is great. You care only about features you need. You enable it, and COPS will configure a Kubernetes cluster for you. For example, we partially resolved the first problem. Initially, our cluster was static, despite the fact that usually during working time we have much more number of pods. When we enabled cluster autoscaler feature, COPS created cluster autoscaler deployment and other Kubernetes kinds in the cluster. Also, COPS created required IAM policies so that cluster autoscaler has permissions to manage autoscaling groups. Next, Kubernetes version upgrade. I never saw it before, but previously cluster was upgraded 3, even 4 versions forward. Fortunately, CloudOps is able to do it, and we didn't go into big troubles. However, we decided to stop this practice. Our DevOps team is growing, so that we'll do one minor release at a time for the next versions. So in a short, problem we resolved. Firstly, we added dynamic provisioning by adding cluster autoscaler to the compute resources. And now we are doing granular upgrade. Remember, one of our principles is small changes rather than batches. And quick reminder where we are now. Yeah, we discussed infrastructure, we discussed platform. Now let's talk a bit about applications. We manage applications by Helm charts, and we added Argo CD. Argo CD follows GitOps pattern of using Git repositories as a source of truth for defining the desired application state. Just recently, I have found a Helm release in our cluster, which was deployed to the cluster 5 years ago. Of course, it's not used. That old application adds extra load to the cluster. It adds some noise during security checks. How does it happen that it still exists? This release has been restored to the new cluster using Velero. The right approach to restore a cluster, deploy all the needed charts from the Git, and we are moving to these directions as well. Also, we had CI for Helm charts. Now we're improving it by adding different scanners to security checks, API deprecations, etc. Finally, and maybe my favorite one, self-documented system. With Argo CD, we're able to create code structure so everyone will understand what is deployed and where from the very first look. Especially, this will be helpful for the new engineers. So in a short, we added scanners to CI, security, API deprecation, security resource limits, and other best practices for Kubernetes. Also, we improved visibility. Visibility is coming together with Argo CD. We know what, where, with what kind of values deployed from the very first look. We improve supportability, coming together with scanners in CI. Imagine you have to update Kubernetes version, and you will find a lot of deprecated APIs. So you're starting to update them on all microservices. With scanners, you will do it in timely manner, not in a rush. And a quick reminder what was done, and of course, we have future plans. We plan to create operations dashboards from AWS events. Those events coming from different sources, updates available, or some events from AWS architecture framework. Also, we're planning to upgrade Kubernetes clusters not manually, but from CI/CD. For that, we'll improve this part as well. Also, we'll continue to add cluster autoscaler to all our clusters. And of course, focus on security, implement rootless containers, and many other things. Thank you for your attention.